If a woman says she needs space, most men immediately assume one thing: she's losing interest. But that assumption is often wrong, and reacting from that assumption is usually what causes the real damage. When a woman says she needs space, it rarely means the connection is already gone. More often, it means something in the emotional dynamic feels overwhelming, pressured, or unstable. And attraction doesn't disappear instantly. It withdraws gradually when emotional safety decreases. In the early stage of attraction, emotional energy flows easily. There's curiosity, uncertainty, and a sense of discovery. Both people feel free to move closer. But when the dynamic becomes too intense, too heavy, or too future-focused too quickly, something shifts. Space becomes necessary. Not because attraction vanished, but because psychological pressure increased. Most men respond to this moment by doing one of two things. They either chase harder or they shut down completely. Both reactions communicate instability. Chasing communicates fear of loss. Withdrawing aggressively communicates resentment. Neither communicates emotional security. To understand why I need space happens, you have to understand emotional bandwidth. Every person has a certain capacity for emotional processing. Work stress, family issues, personal uncertainty, these all reduce available emotional bandwidth. If the relationship starts demanding reassurance, clarity, or emotional labor during a low bandwidth period, distance becomes a coping mechanism. It's not rejection, it's regulation. There's also another layer. Attraction requires tension, not anxiety, but polarity. When everything becomes certain too quickly, when future plans are locked in, when validation is constant, the emotional spark can flatten. Space restores contrast. Contrast restores curiosity. Curiosity restores attraction, but only if the response to space is stable. The biggest mistake men make is trying to negotiate attraction verbally. They ask for clarity. They ask where things are going. They ask if she still feels the same. From a logical standpoint, this seems reasonable. From a psychological standpoint, it increases pressure. Pressure reduces emotional safety, and when emotional safety drops, distance increases. Attraction is not maintained through interrogation. It's maintained through emotional steadiness. If she says she needs space, the highest value response is calm acceptance, not performative indifference, not strategic silence. Calm acceptance. Okay, I understand. That response communicates confidence. Confidence reduces pressure. Reduced pressure allows natural desire to resurface. When a woman pulls away slightly and the man remains centered, something important happens. The dynamic rebalances. She no longer feels responsible for managing his emotions. She no longer feels the weight of reassurance. And in that absence of pressure, attraction has room to breathe again. This doesn't mean waiting passively forever. It means not reacting emotionally to temporary distance. There's a difference. Emotional maturity in attraction often looks like restraint. Not silence, not games. Restraint. Restraint signals abundance. Abundance signals security. Security is attractive. Another key factor is overinvestment too early. If emotional intensity escalates faster than mutual commitment, the imbalance creates subconscious discomfort. The person who feels ahead emotionally will feel exposed. Exposure without stability triggers withdrawal. Space becomes protection. The solution is not reducing care. It's pacing emotional investment. Let the connection unfold at a rhythm both people can regulate. Consistency builds trust. Intensity without stability creates volatility, and volatility exhausts attraction. There's also a biological component, but it doesn't require complex terminology. Humans are wired to value what feels self-directed. When emotional closeness feels chosen, attraction strengthens. When it feels expected or required, resistance grows. Space restores the feeling of choice. Choice restores desire. So when you hear, "I need space," interpret it as data, not doom. It's information about the current emotional climate. It may signal stress. It may signal pacing mismatch. It may signal pressure, but it rarely signals instant emotional death. The outcome depends more on your response than on her request. If you respond with control, urgency, or emotional volatility, you confirm the need for distance. If you respond with stability, groundedness, and continued self-focus, you reduce the emotional load attached to you, and lighter emotional loads are easier to return to. Working with attraction requires understanding that emotional energy fluctuates. It is not linear. It expands and contracts. Healthy dynamics allow that contraction without panic. Men who understand this operate differently. They don't chase space, they allow it. They don't interpret temporary distance as permanent rejection. They interpret it as rhythm. And rhythm, when respected, often restores connection naturally. The goal is not to prevent space. The goal is to make space safe. When space feels safe, it becomes temporary. When space feels pressured, it becomes permanent. Attraction psychology isn't about control. It's about understanding patterns and responding in a way that supports emotional equilibrium. If you approach relationships from stability rather than fear, most space situations resolve themselves, and if they don't, you exit with composure rather than damage. That alone changes your long-term results. If you're looking for structured guidance rooted in psychological dynamics rather than tactics, there's a resource linked below that aligns with this approach. Calm, measured, effective.